This is my review of the Boyue Meebook P10 Pro. And sorry it's been a minute, but here it is in full, the full review of the Boyue. I said in my earlier first thoughts that really this is about the price. And the big question here is going to be, is this for the price everything you need? If you've been looking at this, you're probably interested because it's an Android tablet with full Google Play Store. And it's got pen input and that e-ink screen, with of course the two front lights. So on paper it seems to have everything that you could want it to be. But is it good enough to stop you being tempted by the competition? Closest rival in terms of price might be one of the smaller e-ink tablets, for instance the Nova Air. So one question for you might be, would you prefer the Nova Air, which is probably a more complete device in terms of the software, and it's got that Wacom layer, and deal with it being that smaller screen size? Or in fact, is the screen size at this price point enough of a draw for you? So I'm going to go through a whole bunch of different categories. As normal, I'll give them a score and I'll give you my conclusions at the end. At any point, you can go over to my website, evaluateeverything.com, and on there I've got comparisons, a whole table of scores of different devices so you can actually pick the right device for you. My first category is thinking. And straight off, you can see one of the issues with the pen. Because this isn't a Wacom stylus, it occasionally skips a beat and you put the pen to the paper and it doesn't write what you thought it was going to write. That can be a bit frustrating. The note-taking app itself isn't a very sophisticated solution. You don't have vast arrays of pens, you don't have a table of contents, and you don't have handwriting recognition. So for some of you, this might be a bit of a turn-off straight away. You could, of course, install a third-party app to do some of that, but I think the fact that other devices have it native is perhaps a bit of a deal breaker. The thing about third-party apps on any of the e-ink devices is they're not always going to behave well on the e-ink screen. So do beware of that. Something that behaves well on a normal Android tablet or iPad isn't necessarily going to work well with the e-ink screen with its funny refresh rates. So it will do the job of being an e-ink notebook with infinite pages perfectly well. And if you're satisfied with that and you don't need a specialized way to actually organize your notes, then this might just be good enough. Also, I've talked about the stylus already, but it does feel nice. It's got a nice weight, it's got a nice feel on the screen. The screen protector is fine. The buttons are actually eraser buttons. I think you've got an area or a stroke erase on the two buttons there. It is a battery powered stylus and the battery just goes in the end there. So it will one day run out and there's no recharge circuit actually with the device. It does leave something to be desired in terms of latency and accuracy. Latency is not bad, as you can see there, but the accuracy isn't always perfect. It's not as good as the Wacom layer. It's not as accurate as the Wacom pens that come with most devices, but that is something that drives up the prices of those devices. In terms of a thinking tool, because of that, there's that slight delay sometimes, those slight frustrations with the pen. For a thinking tool, I'm afraid it's not going to rank right up there. Just a 3 for that. Secondly, communication. This is reasonably good here. You can add any email app you like, you can add any chat app that you like. But there are a few things missing here from the mix. There's no global handwriting recognition and no voice to text. Although you could add a third-party app like the Google Gboard and that would do that for you. But the handwriting recognition is never going to work as well on the Google Gboard as it will be natively. Here's the Gboard. You can see here how the e-ink isn't quite matching exactly the way we want it. But of course, Gboard does come with the voice recognition, which is more or less accurate. But at least this is a device that has microphones and speakers, and so can work with this type of input and output. So Gboard's fine, but it isn't going to be as seamlessly integrated as, for example, the Boox device, which has a wonderfully integrated handwriting recognition and voice typing keyboard that works everywhere. You can add a Bluetooth keyboard, or you can actually plug straight in via the OTG USB-C, and that will work really nicely. So actually, an inexpensive e-ink typewriter, this would be a good solution for that. But if you're looking for a communication powerhouse, you'd probably look elsewhere. And one more thing to mention from this is that you can actually cast directly from this device. You can cast your screen. It's in there in the menu to anything with Miracast. It's absolutely fine. You can also record your screen. So there's all these functions that you kind of expect from any Android tablet, and it works just fine for that. So I'm going to put this somewhere in the middle. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10 for communication. It's reading and learning next. I would say this is primarily an e-reader, and it does have those functions which are really nice for an e-reader. For instance, the bi-color backlight, or front light I should say, so you can really balance that light out or have warmer light if you're reading at night. It even has some built-in presets, and of course the ability to set them at any level that you like. In the normal e-reader you can of course mark up, you can highlight, all of those good things. You can underline, you can annotate. Oh dear. Gboard's not performing as well as I maybe thought it would. But I don't think that's the problem with the device. I think that's a user error there. So it has all those functions. What is more is because of the Google Play, you can have any reading app that you like. So in fact, I can go to Kindle and I've got all of my books from my Kindle app there. For instance, my own book, Teacher on YouTube, How to Start and Grow Education YouTube channels. And at any time, incidentally, if you're getting that ghosting, you can swipe up once from the right hand side of the screen and it will do a full refresh on the screen. This book takes you through everything that I did in order to build this YouTube channel. So you can have any reading app that you like. And of course, it's almost traumatic to look at it, but baby sleep guide here. Our babies didn't sleep very well. In spite of this, I managed to build this YouTube channel. So great, you can use Kindle, you could use Kobo if you were in that world. You could use any reading app that you like. If you weren't happy with the browser, then you could of course install a second browser. There's all that customizability, all that versatility. And if you know that's going to be useful for you, you won't be disappointed by this device and the way it handles Google Play and other apps. For reading then, I am actually going to give it a 6. The next one is collaboration. You can use integrations like Dropbox or Google Drive, but this is just the app. It won't, as some people expect when they buy these devices, it won't automatically sync all of your notes up to Google Drive. It will be a case of having to use Google Drive as you would on any other Android tablet. It won't automatically sync your notes from that app to the Google Drive. It's more of a space to upload and download. But this is essential for me because all of my work here is stored in Google Drive. Any of larger documents that aren't just notes is going to be in Google Drive. Of course, as well, you can work in an app like Trello or Xtiles, and so you can work across your team in those apps. For instance, here's where I'm storing my notes for this video, and you can see looks perfectly good, looks really nice on this Eink screen. So Xtiles also looks just great, and everything's there as you'd expect it on any Android device. You can also use full Microsoft apps, and all of your files would be there on the OneDrive from your organization's system, which is fantastic, of course. And this is the type of use case that you would really want if you were a writer. You can stick yourself a Bluetooth keyboard on here and tap away to your heart's content. The Microsoft isn't going to be quite as well optimized as it will be on an iPad or a laptop, a coloring screen as well, or maybe even the Boox devices. Boox have really spent a lot of time optimizing the Microsoft apps in their user interface. So for collaboration, there is lots of options, not a lot natively on the device, so I'm going to give it a 5. It will do the things that you need it to do if you need to use Android apps to collaborate. Planning and organization is the next one, and it's worked absolutely fine for my use case, and this is the main use case for me for e-ink devices, is being a planner. So I have a PDF which I essentially scribble on, and this has worked absolutely fine just for me. It hyperlinks through my different pages and I can keep notes of what I need to be doing on those days. Fantastic. You can see the pen does have pressure levels, but no tilt. So you can have a PDF like I do just to essentially scribble on, and you can of course have any calendar or personal knowledge management app. And that app will of course sync to your phone and any other devices for using things like Trello, for using things like Xtiles. One thing about planning and organization is the battery is amazing. So in my use case, I think I would probably have got 2 weeks, which is fantastic. The drawback here of course is that this is a battery powered stylus, and the quadruple A battery will run out one day, and that will be quite annoying. And regardless, this is just old tech now to have a battery in a stylus that is not rechargeable on the device. I'm probably nowhere near running it out in the time that I've used it, but there probably will be a day when I need to scribble down an important note and the battery just runs out on me, and that will be annoying. So for planning and organization, I'm going to give it 6. Lastly is innovation and creation. There's no voice or handwriting recognition here, so creating a lengthy piece of writing isn't going to be a pleasure, unless you're somebody that likes to type, in which case you can of course use that. Drawing here is also a bit of a no-go, because the pencil tool itself doesn't have tilt, doesn't even have much of a pressure level, just isn't really going to cut it for any type of really professional drawing. It's not really accurate enough in any case. It's fine for jotting down notes, it's fine for drawing some scruffy diagrams for reference later, but if you're a creative then you're going to find it a bit lacking in this respect. But that being said, because it's got the Google Play, it might just have that app that lets it fit into your creative workflow, and that might be well worth another look at this device. I'm going to give it a 5 here just for that reason, that perhaps there's an app in the vast world of Google Play that will actually let you use this device really well. Just please don't expect something like Autodesk Sketchbook to really work all that well. You can see it works. It's just not going to be a pleasure because of that lack of Eink optimization. You could access your drawings on here, you could potentially trace something for workup later, but really this is not going to work smoothly. What are the best use cases? Who should buy this? I haven't added them up yet. Not bad. 30. Puts it right behind the remarkable. It's not the luxury experience of others, but it is fully functional. This is the buy if you're on a budget and you know the Kobo Ellipser isn't for you. Those are the two really inexpensive e-ink tablets that you should be looking out for. They both have a similar kind of stylus with buttons, but with a battery. This is the buy if you know you want the flexibility of Android, but you're on that tight budget. If you're on the budget, but you know you want a better reader, and maybe you want the advanced notebook features like the handwriting recognition, and you don't need any of the voice input, then the Ellipser is a better buy for you. The Ellipser though will not let you have the full Google Play Store. And of course you're stuck in the Kobo reader system, but they are both bargains. Something else about this stylus is sometimes I found it didn't wake up very well, and that the little buttons on here can be pretty sticky, so they don't always give you the most reassuringly high build quality on those buttons there. When it misses a stroke, wasn't much of an issue, but it might get frustrating long term, especially if you know that there's that better stylus technology, the Wacom stylus technology out there. This is the one that you should buy if you don't want to be precious about your device, if you need to use it outdoors. It's got this really rugged case. It feels a bit more rugged, a bit more heft to it. I'm sure if you wanted to use something outdoors and it not break the bank completely if you had to replace it if you dropped it. It's also maybe the buy if you're actually not totally convinced that an e-ink tablet is the way forward for you, but you just want to try it out. If you want all of those benefits of the lovely e-ink screens with the front lights, so you're not having that eye strain, then maybe this is a way to give that a go. And if you like it, and maybe after a few years you might look at something else. What I mean by that is you might convince yourself that it's worth spending money on one of the more premium devices. Another option, if that's the case for you though, is that you might try the Nova Air. The Nova Air is a really good option. This is the black and white version, but they do have a Nova Air C as well. So you're saving a little bit of money because you're going for the smaller screen, but you do have the Wacom stylus and you do have that more mature software set. So Boox have spent a lot of time really developing their software such that it's an absolute pleasure to use. It's a similar price point for a start, and what's more, if you decided that later that you wanted to upgrade to one of the bigger screen Boox devices, well, you could do that and all of your notes would already be there on that new device. Just to reiterate though, for an A5 screen, this is a really excellent price point. It's the device that you should buy if you were always happy with a scrappy biro on any old piece of paper. It's not the device that you should buy if you know that you love using premium ballpoints on fine paper notebook. It's not got that kind of moleskin premium feel to it like a lot of the other devices do. There are all those familiar Android features, like you've got the recents panel just from a swipe on the left, you've got a home button, and you've got the swipe on the right gives you a full refresh on the screen to get rid of any ghosting. And most importantly, I wasn't disappointed by this device. Despite all of this that we've mentioned, all of these kind of shortcomings due to the price point, I wasn't walking around using this device at work thinking, oh god, I've got the cheap one at the minute, haven't I? During my 2 weeks of using this, it was quite the opposite. I really liked the way it felt and the way it performed. It's a nice design. It's a bit of an oldie now, but it's a goodie with the home button at the bottom and the thick bezels. It's a good design. It's a nice color. I like this kind of deep gray, and the accessories are nice too. This is a nice case for it. And the pen stylus does feel nice. It did exactly what I wanted it to do as my planner at work. And so it is good enough at this price point. Thanks so much for watching this channel. Don't forget, on my website, I've got comparisons to other Eink devices. And if you want to actually see a full buying guide, this is the next one for you.